All right, everyone, it's time to lay it out there plain and simple. I don't care about the Iran deal, and I don't care about the Iran deal withdrawal. It's my opinion that we will not be attacking Iran. If we did, I would strongly oppose it. I would oppose Trump even continuing on as president if we got into a war with Iran, because it could mean World War III. I think most people understand that. Iran is one of Russia's closest allies. If we were to ever attack Iran directly, I don't think that Russia would tolerate that. It'd look a little bit aggressive, I think. I think they would assume that it was about them more than it was about Iran in the first place. Now, plus, it's more likely that Israel and Iran will end up in a war at some point. Israel would wipe the floor with them. Israel would certainly take heavy damage from Iran's non-nuclear missiles, but, Israel has over 100 hydrogen bombs. That's more than enough to basically blanket and pockmark the entire fucking country of Iran. The Iranians know this. They can say death to America and chant and burn flags all they want. Look, that's not an act of war. Neither is, by the way, ripping apart this deal an act of war, and the deal doesn't even do anything. It was just Obama's way of handing them a bunch of money as a bribe, hoping that they wouldn't shout so many death to the U.S. chants in the streets for the rest of his presidency to make it look like he was competent. That's ultimately what the fucking Iran deal was. I don't think anyone in D.C. actually thinks Iran's trying to get a nuke because they know it'd be suicide. They would immediately get hit by the Israelis if they ever developed a nuclear. How are they going to test a nuclear weapon? As they conduct a test, what happens? The next day, Tehran is a crater. That's what would happen. Israel would say, it's unacceptable, not going to happen, we're attacking them, anyone that tries to get involved will attack you too, fuck off. That's what would end up happening. I'm not worried about the Iranians. You know, if we attacked or warmongered after every country in which crowds of people ever got together to burn the U.S. flag, most of the world would be a blistering crater right now in the wake of the George W. administration. Used to be we got along pretty damn well with a lot of the world. Now, not so much. Trump is slowly repairing that. He can actually shake Kim Jong-un's hand at this point. That's pretty good. We've had two shitty presidents in a row, Bush and Obama, who pissed away a lot of our alliances and a lot of our foreign policy chops. Bush by his warmongering, Obama by weakness. Trump actually understands foreign policy a bit. On North Korea, I thought that was the one place that we might end up in a war and it might actually be justified. It looks like that won't actually happen now. Huzzah, that's a really, really good thing. Again, skeptical about denuclearization, skeptical until it happens about a peace treaty, but it's better than it was before, certainly. It's a normalized relationship between Seoul and Pyongyang. DC's like, okay, we're going to ease off a little bit too. We got our U.S. prisoners, thank you. High praise for Kim Jong-un. Trump will go and say, oh, I'll shake his hand. I thank him for seeing reason and the light of wisdom or something. It'll be funny. On Iran, why are people so terrified of Iran? So many people in the Western world, if you ask them what they think the greatest threat to the world is, they'll answer Iran, a non-nuclear Central Asian state, a pawn of the Russians. If they ever got nukes, it'd probably be they bought them from Russia anyway. Why are you so worried about this one fucking country? What has convinced you that Iran, above every other Middle Eastern dictatorship, is a problem? They're liberalizing now. Over the last few years, things have gotten a little bit less zealot-like there. Yeah, can you say the same about half of these other regimes that we largely ignore? No, I would be more worried about the Saudis, who, they have nukes, actual nuclear weapons that they can obtain anytime by buying them from Pakistan. Pakistan, the Saudi Arabians bankrolled with oil money, with U.S. money in other words, the Pakistani nuclear program as a counterbalance to India. That's essentially what it was, and a counterbalance to Iran potentially getting such weapons at the time they thought that would be likely to happen. The Saudis gave Pakistan billions of dollars, all sorts of goods. Pakistan develops first atomic and then, the North Korean style hydrogen weapons. It's what they have now, sort of second stage nuclear tech, acceptable grade weapons, something along the lines of what we had in the 50s, but, they have them. In return, Pakistan is part of a deal with Saudi Arabia. Oh yeah, we can sell you these same weapons that you bankrolled in the first place for really cheap prices. We can just make more of them. Now that we've got the capability of doing so, you just bankroll us and we'll make as many as you want. That way Saudi Arabia doesn't have to be a potential target. They're not technically a nuclear state. They just have easy access to nukes whenever they want them. And then, of course, Pakistan is another player. They signed the NPT. Yeah, they don't do testing or anything anymore, but they do have nuclear weapons. India has them. Like, the world's got a lot more nuclear states in it than it did back during maybe the Cuban Missile Crisis. Back then, who had nukes during the Cuban Missile Crisis? I think it was just the U.S., the Soviets, and the British at the time, I believe, the UK. I don't think anyone else. I think the Soviets hadn't even given China nuclear weapons yet, if I remember. I think that was a little bit later. And then China and France, of course, have them. And those are the 5 main nuclear powers of the world. And then you have India and Pakistan. You also, at this point, you have North Korea. And then you have Israel, of course. By the 1980s, they had hundreds of nuclear weapons. Why are you obsessed with Iran getting an atomic bomb, a primitive atomic weapon? You realize how outclassed that is by the kind of nukes we use? It's not even a comparison. They're barely even the same fucking kind of weapon because of the difference in yield. There's a big difference between, 10, 20 kilotons and something that's, 10, 20 megatons. I think you'll find the blast radius is a little bit different. I think you'll find the death toll is different. I think you'll find that if Tehran ever developed even the most primitive of atomic weapons, like that we had at Trinity, they would immediately be extinct as a people. Persia would no longer exist. It wouldn't exist anymore. I guess at that point, the biggest Iranian populations would probably be some enclaves in Europe or something. Scattered in some other country. They'd have to do the right of return thing. I don't think that would happen. I think whatever nation decided to bomb Iran would just conquer them. There'd be no one left to claim it. I'm not worried about it. I don't give a fuck about the nuclear deal. What did it accomplish? Obama gives a boatload of cash, somewhat illegally, to another country. Nothing in return. No guarantee of no nuclear proliferation there. It didn't get, basically it was, we're going to trust you at your word that you won't develop them. Now, I don't think that they are. I don't even care if they do, but that's just a shitty deal. It wasn't necessary. If there's no real problem there, why even bother striking one? And they'll tell you, the money transfer was the big part Obama cared about. He gave money to a foreign state to calm them down. That's what it boils down to. That's all it is. The Iranian deal withdrawal. I'm seeing people that are like Trump fans. They're like, oh, good, that was a shitty Obama-era deal. Yeah, of course it's crappy. That's not the point, though. Iran is not a threat. We don't need to worry about them or do anything about them. Slap sanctions on them like you do other so-called state sponsors of terror, other than the Saudis, of course, and then leave it at that. Look, they haven't gotten a nuke so far. The first time Netanyahu told us that they would gain nuclear weapons was in the mid-1990s. He's now coming forth for this, and it's part of a justification strategy, I think, rather than actual warmongering. He comes forth and he says, look at this beautiful collection of CDs, because, it makes perfect sense that you would keep your nuclear secrets in a low security facility on basically CDs. That makes perfect sense. And look at all these folders. Well, I'm not going to tell you what evidence is in them. Here's a write-up. Here's a PowerPoint that I made. Oh no, Iran's still trying to develop a nuke. Oh, the nuclear deal was terrible. Yeah, the nuclear deal was terrible because it involved giving U.S. taxpayer money to a foreign state for no reason. Not that that's really anything but par for the course. We do that all the time. You realize how many billions of dollars we give to the main recipients of U.S. aid? Israel's number one. I think that Egypt and Pakistan are collectively 2 and 3. Turkey, I believe, is on that list. There's a lot of Middle Eastern states. Some, I think we give a little bit to the Philippines, like Malaysia, the Indonesia and stuff. Most of it gets pumped into the Middle East. No, we shouldn't be doing that. Look, that's a lot of money. We could build infrastructure for that. You're talking about this gateway project. To use that money for it. Why don't you build Trump's wall, too, at the same time? Look, you combine all the money we give to foreign states in a single year together. I'm sure you could pay for both of those. Give the Democrats their glorious fucking rail tunnel between New York City and New Jersey, another pork barrel project that'll run over budget and over time. Give them that and give us the wall that we asked for. That's what I think. A lot of Americans still want that. We're talking about his foreign policy successes. He still needs to clamp down more on immigration. He's doing what he can. He needs to do more and focus on that issue again. I think he figures he's just going to outlast the Democrats and doesn't take the threat of them winning the House seriously. I would beg to differ. I think there is a threat of that. Not the Senate, but the House. Although that threat may be diminished a little bit as Trump's approval rises. Look, Trump, ultimately, on races that merely lean Republican, could be a drag on it if his approval is low. That is definitely true. Likewise, in areas where he's still pretty popular, he could actually help the Republicans retain Senate seats, possibly some House seats as well. Ultimately, this probably, between the Iran deal that I know is unpopular, getting repealed, that is a popular move. I'm in the minority by not giving a fuck about Iran. I'm perfectly aware of that fact. Between that and the release of 3 U.S. prisoners on the same fucking day, his approval will probably hit 47, 48. He'll be up near 50% within a week, I think, at this point. Or at least he'll be above 45, that's for sure. Trump's doing just fine. He's above where Obama was, going into a midterms that has a structural advantage for the Republicans. I don't see a blue wave coming at this point. He made the right decision from a tactical political standpoint. As far as electioneering, this is the right decision to make. It's an unpopular deal. I doubt you could find many Americans that like the deal. It's just a matter of some of those Democrats don't trust Trump to make a better one. Personally, I would just say fuck it and just ignore Iran. That's my response if I were the U.S. president. Say, why do we need a deal at all? I don't care about him. Let someone else in the region deal with it. We've been in the Middle East for too long anyway. Fucking warmongers. They act as though it's an act of war for Iranian citizens to say death to the USA. It's not an act of war. It's just normal behavior within countries that you've threatened to annihilate multiple times. It's just like people here that say, well, burn the Iranians into cinders. Well, yeah, of course. Because the Iranians are constantly chanting too. It's just sort of what happens. It's that football team mentality bullshit. I'm not dragged in by that warmongering. I'm not worried about Iranians. I'm not worried when they dance around in the streets burning the U.S. flag. It's like, okay, do what you want to do. It's your land. You want to do, did you buy, are those made in the USA? Did you give some U.S. merchant a bunch of money to buy those flags that you're burning right now? That would be really funny. Probably bought them off of Amazon anyway. Because the U.S. makes money off of people that hate the U.S. Like, you can't escape it. It's, just deal with it. That's about all. Peace out.